Hi guys, my name is JC and welcome back to my channel JC Reads. It's been so long since I've actually filmed a video. Actually, it's been 1 month, but it felt like such a long time ago. I'm glad to be back. The reason I've been away is because I've been having like finals and the course that I'm taking with like a lot of assignments to do, including recording a lot of videos and editing a lot of videos. So that took up a lot of my time. I didn't have time to sit down and film a booktube video. Since I kind of already knew that in August I wouldn't be reading that many books, which is true because I only read 2 books in August. In July I read 4 books. So I kind of decided to, mash up my July wrap-up and my August wrap-up together. Okay, that's enough of rambling. I'm just gonna jump straight to the 6 books that I read in July and August. So yeah. So the first book that I read in the month of July was The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This book, I gave it a 4-star rating on Goodreads. Okay, before I tell you what I felt about it, I jumped into this book without actually reading like the proper summary on it on Goodreads. Basically, all I knew about it was what it said at the back, which is nothing much because it's just saying the circus arrives without warning, no announcements preceded, it's simply there when yesterday it was not. So that's kind of all I knew about it. I just knew it was about a circus, so I didn't actually know the main story that was going behind it, and I kind of suggest that if you guys want to read The Night Circus, you should go into it blind as well, because I think that heightened my experience. I really did enjoy The Night Circus because I wasn't sure where the story was going, and at the same time I just enjoyed how this book made me feel. Like throughout the whole entire book, I had this huge desire of going to the circus. The way the circus is described, it felt so magical and it just made me feel like I really had to go to a circus right at that instant. It kind of is the same feeling like you want to go to Hogwarts when you're reading Harry Potter. So yeah. But anyway, this book was written really beautifully. The storyline was really interesting. I highly enjoyed reading this book. There were some parts that were kind of draggy. Nothing much happened. This book is definitely a really unique book. So if you haven't read The Night Circus yet, go and read it. So the next book that I read in the month of July is my July reading challenge, which was read a classic novel. So I picked Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov. So this book, I gave it 3 stars on Goodreads. It is basically about Humbert, who is a middle-aged man, and he is in love with his landlady's 12-year-old daughter, Lolita. The story is a pretty controversial one, and the experience of reading it, I don't know how to explain. My thoughts were just contradicting themselves. So throughout this whole entire book, I strongly disagreed with many of Humbert's decisions. But at the same time, reading from his point of view was so interesting because the way this guy thinks is, well, he's hilarious at times despite his humor being pretty dark. And the way he tells his story isn't boring, so yeah. But I do have to admit that like several parts in this book were pretty draggy. Like they had paragraphs that span a page long. I can't stand paragraphs that are super long but they just talk about nonsense. This book is definitely a really different read compared to other stuff I've ever read before, so that was really interesting. But other than that, it hasn't really left much of an impact on me, other than the fact that if I do have a daughter next time, I'm gonna keep her away from grown-up men, okay? Grown-up perverted old men. Yeah. So the next book that I read was Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I'm really sad to say this, but I have to say that Throne of Glass highly disappointed me. I don't blame myself for jumping into this book with like really high expectations because everyone literally raves about this series. They literally rave about Celaena Sidortian. I can say that my expectations for Throne of Glass were this high, and the book kinda ended up somewhere here. It wasn't a bad book, it just really disappointed me. Now, why was I disappointed? The one thing that annoyed me the most was probably the protagonist herself, Miss Celaena Sidortian. I hear everybody talking about this kick-ass assassin and all, and I was really excited to read about her. But when I jumped into this book, I just couldn't help but feel like she is too perfect. Like I was literally searching for a flaw in that girl. And another thing about Kale, I mean Kale's a cutie pie, but at the same time he is the captain of the guard, and I felt like he brought his guard down so easily around Celaena Sidortian, which is like the #1 wanted assassin, and I found that kinda illogical. I mean he should have been more stricter. But yeah, I mean Kale's still a cutie, so yeah. I did highly enjoy Sarah's writing. I felt like her writing was just really easy to read, and there were no no boring parts in this book except for a couple of pointless ones, but other than that, I wasn't bored. I was really demotivated to like move on to the second book, but thank God I did. But first of all, I gave Throne of Glass a 3 out of 5 star rating on Goodreads, and yeah, I guess that's all I can say about my experience reading this book. So the fourth and final book that I read in the month of July was Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas. I really did not expect much from this book after reading Throne of Glass, but wow, was I wrong. This book had such a huge improvement from Throne of Glass. Like, Sarah's writing improved a lot, and Selena's character got so much better. Like, I finally saw the kick-ass side of Selena and why so many people loved her. And also Kale. Can we just stop and talk about Kale? Because that boy is such a cutie pie. Oh my god. I really love this book, especially all of the action scenes. Like, all the twists and turns that this book took, I really enjoyed it. Well, the one thing that slightly bugged me about reading this book is the magical elements in it. I'm not really sure how I feel about the magical stuff that are in here. Like, I know they will play like a bigger role in the future books that are coming. Hopefully I'll get over that tiny problem, but other than that, this book was really highly enjoyable, and I'm glad I did not start reading at Throne of Glass. So moving on to the books that I read in the month of August, the first book that I read was LABYRINTH by Zoraida Cordova. Huge thanks to Source Books Fire for sending me an arc of this book. LABYRINTH comes out on September 6th, so definitely go and check the book out when it's released. Okay, so I gave LABYRINTH a 3 star rating on Goodreads, and to be honest, I did expect a lot from this book. The premise of this book is pretty interesting. It's about Alex, who is a bruja. I think that's how you say it. So yeah, she's a bruja and she's basically the most powerful witch in the current generation. But Alex pretty much hates magic. She hates the bad effects that magic has on her and on her family, and she just wants to get rid of it. So basically on her death day celebration, she decides to cast a spell, which is supposed to get rid of her magic, but instead it brought this being from Los Lagos, a different dimension, and this creature took away all of her family members, all her relatives away. So with the help of Nova, this other bruja boy, the both of them travel to Los Lagos in the attempt to rescue her family members. So I did enjoy many parts of this book. It has many diverse characters, it has people of color, it has bisexuality in it, which is pretty great. I really love it when the book has really diverse characters, but on the other hand, even though it's great that this book has diversity, I felt like I could not really connect to the characters itself, which kind of sucked. At times I found that their decisions that they make were pretty childish, and also the magical elements in this book were kind of not realistic. Like, I know it's magic. This thing kind of bugged me about the characters and the way they could just conjure magic so easily. Some of the parts in this book kind of felt like it just came out of a fairy tale, and at times I was wondering if this was a middle grade novel. I felt like the beginning, the start of the book was really interesting, and then it fell flat after that. But towards the end, it got really better. Like, it was really action-packed and it was really interesting, and I highly enjoyed the second half of the book, but this huge middle chunk, it was so hard to get through. But maybe it's because I was in a really huge reading slump at that time, and I was having my finals, I had no time to read, but I remembered not enjoying my whole reading experience. This book was definitely a fun-filled book, but it just kind of fell flat for me, and just some of the parts in this book just did not work out for me, sadly. So the last book that I read in the month of August was The Martian by Andy Weir. This book was actually my August reading challenge, which was read a book and watch its movie adaptation. So anyway, I gave this book a 4.5 star rating on Goodreads. I highly enjoyed The Martian. Okay, first of all, if you don't know what The Martian is about, it's basically about Mark Watney, who's an astronaut, and he got left behind on Mars after a sandstorm incident that happened. So yeah, basically Mark Watney is stuck on Mars alone and finding ways to survive. I am secretly a really geeky science lover, so I highly enjoyed this book. There are countless scientific explanations in which Mark just solves the problems that he faces, and I'm telling you, he faces a lot of problems in this book. He comes up with so many ideas, so many solutions to the problems, and it's just so interesting to see how he solves them. Although some of the explanations got really confusing, it was really hard to keep up with, and there were some parts that nothing much really happened, so those parts were a little boring. But other than that, the rest of the book was just really interesting, and reading from Mark Watney's point of view, it is insanely hilarious, guys. He knows his life is screwed up, he's stuck on Mars. What can he do? What can this guy do? But he still manages to crack jokes, and I laugh, guys. I laugh so much throughout reading this book. And also this book has kept me on the edge of my seat throughout the whole entire book. Like, the fact that he's stuck on Mars and the fact that anything could go wrong at any moment, and many times things did go wrong. And this managed to keep me thrilled throughout the whole book from beginning to the end, and I highly appreciated that. So yeah guys, definitely go and check out this book. Highly recommend it, and definitely a book that I will keep on thinking about for a very long time. Okay guys, I hope I haven't rambled too much about the books that I have read in the month of July and August, but anyway, now it's time to move on to my favorite part of every wrap-up video, which is finding out what my challenge is for the next month. And it's September, and I'm super excited for September because it's my birthday month, my favorite month of the year.
But anyway, I can't see what my challenge is, and I hope it's a good one. But yeah, I'm shaking it, guys, because it's my birthday month. I just realized I have 4 more papers in here. It's kind of making me nervous. But anyway, here goes nothing. Got paper, got paper, paper.
So basically what I have here is read a new to you author. So for this challenge, I'm kind of stuck between 2 authors, which is Nicola Yoon and Daniel Page. So basically, if I choose Daniel Page, I'll be reading Dorothy Must Die. And if I choose Nicola Yoon, I'll be reading Everything. Please help me pick whether I should read Nicola Yoon's Everything or Daniel Page's Dorothy Must Die, because I'm super stoked to read both of these books and I really just can't decide. So yeah guys, I guess that's it for my July and August wrap up and my September challenge. Thanks for watching this video. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!